Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about how to do this super fun knitted summer shawl. I'm calling it the Fireside shawl, so you can wear it for a campfire just to keep that chill off your shoulders as things start to cool down, but it's not quite sweater weather yet. So let's jump right in. So to get started with our shawl, I have a set of round needles in our 4.5mm size. These are quite long, but they will be plenty for what we're actually going to do. We are going to knit this shawl on the diagonal, and so we're going to do it in 3 sections. It's going to have our increase section to get to our desired width. Then we've got our body, which is going to be knit in a slightly different way, where we're going to do increases on one side and decreases on the other to keep our diagonal pattern. And then when we reach our desired length, we are going to do our decrease section to finish off our rectangle. So we're starting with casting on 4 stitches because our lifted increase is going to happen on our second and our third stitch on our first row here. So we're going to turn everything around, make sure our yarn is to the back, and that we're not going to knit with our tail. Oh my goodness. Oh. These round needles are sometimes so tight, especially when they've lived in a package for 100 years. We are going to start with a row of purl stitches. Row number 2 is going to be knit our first stitch, increase, so we're doing our lifted increase here, so we're going to pick up our stitch below, knit it, and then knit the next one, and then we're going to increase again on the left side, so we're going to knit, and then we're going to pick up the stitch below that one, put it back on our needle to knit it again as well, and then we're going to finish with a knit stitch at the end of the row. So knit, increase with our lifted increase, knit 2, lifted increase again on our second to last stitch, and then a knit stitch at the end. Now on our way back, we're going to knit everything. So we're creating a garter stitch border here. It's going to be 3 stitches wide at the beginning and end of each row, and we're going to do our increases just inside of that. Turn everything around, and now we're going to knit 2 for our 2 border stitches, and now we're going to increase. So we're going to pick up our stitch here below, put it back on. It looks like a purl stitch, so it's going to maybe look a little bit funny, or it's going to be a little bit hard to work, but don't worry. Once we get through this like little bit of border section, it won't be so fiddly. All right, so we're going to knit the next one. All right, now we're going to knit another, and this is where we're going to do our increase, our left lifted increase here. So we're going to pick up this stitch and put it back onto the left needle, and then knit it again, and then knit the last 2 stitches on our row. So next row looks like this. It just looks like a bunch of stitches. Alright, so I feel like I need to take a little pause here in the video, because as I worked my shawl further along, it started to roll a little bit while I was knitting. So I want to encourage you to follow the rest of the video with the border being 5 stitches across before our increases and decreases for the whole rest of the shawl. Now I'll include the pattern here on the screen for the next couple of rows to get you to that point, but just so you know, for the rest of the video, we're going to do the border as 5 knit stitches, and I'll try to remind you with words on the screen where the adjustment's going to be. Okay, let's jump back in. We have 8 stitches on our row now, so now we're going to start purling the center section of our shawl. So we're going to knit 3, purl 2, knit 3 to finish the row off. Okay, so now the next row, we're going to start seeing this stockinette section pop out of the middle, which we can't quite see yet. We have our 3 stitches for our border, and then we're going to do our increase on the center 2 stitches for this row. So we knit our border, and now we're going to do our lifted increase on the right side. So stick your right needle into the stitch, pick it up, and knit. And then we're going to knit the last 3 stitches to finish the row. So now that we have our center section set up, we're going to add marker to indicate the right side row and to remind us where to stop when we're knitting the wrong side row. So knit 3, we're going to purl until there's 3 stitches left, and that's where we're going to place our marker. And we're going to knit our last 3 stitches. Now when we turn it around, we we're starting to get a stockinette section here in the center. The more rows we do, the better that will pop out. All right, so we're gonna knit our 3, increase, knit to the end of the stockinette section, do our final increase, and then knit our last 3 stitches, flipping our marker as needed. Knit the first 3 stitches, purl to the marker, knit the last. That'll be our row repeat going forward until we get to our desired size, and you can decide the desired size that you have for your shawl. It does not have to be the same size as mine. So we'll keep working on this section number 1 here with our increases. Our yarn is self-striping, so it's gonna go ahead and change colors for us. It'll make us a nice lightweight shawl for, you know, sitting around the campfire, which our family does a lot of camping in the summertime, and so I just like having something over my shoulders. And now I'm gonna have something beautiful, so I'm excited. There's our first several rows. If you guys wanna check out this full pattern, it will be shown on our blog. The shop also has our ad-free PDF version. All right, and feel free, if you like, at the end of your row, you can always place another marker there to show you the edge of the border if you feel like that's necessary. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and continue this until we get to our desired width. I might be like 14 to 16 inches wide from the corner here, measuring up our side to determine our width of our shawl, and then we'll go ahead and work into the body. All right, so when you're ready, come on back and we'll do that. We'll start that body section. All right, hey guys, welcome back. So I have been knitting for a little bit here on our shawl, and as you can see, it does still roll up a little bit because we only have 3 stitches as our edging, but I hope you can see this beautiful line that's happening along the outside of our shawl. It's super fun. I'm loving these colors. I hope you guys we're really enjoying this as well. And what's happening here is, of course, my round needle, it likes to be round, and so it doesn't like to be held flat like this. So this is what's happening. So it's really not going to sit all that flat. However, what I have done is I have measured the length from my corner over here to my needle, and we're at about 20 inches. So if you guys can see, it's kind of fading from one color to the next. For the body of our shawl, this is part 2. For this shawl pattern, we have finished our increases. Now we're going to start working on the body, and then when we get to our desired full length, we're going to do our decrease section. That'll be part 3. For part 2, we need to continue increasing on our one side. We want to keep our number of stitches the same for the full length of our shawl. What we're going to do is we're going to continue increasing at the beginning of our row, and then we're going to do a decrease at the end of our row. This is going to become a corner, so it's going to start to turn and go down the length of the shawl. Okay, so let's do a few rows and we'll see what that looks like. And we're going to do our 3 knit stitches the same way that we have done in section 1. And we're going to slip our marker, and then we're going to continue with our increases at the beginning of the row. So now we're going to lift our stitch, put it onto our left hand needle, knit it. All right, that's our lifted increase that we talked about at the beginning. And now we're going to knit our way across the row. We're going to knit 2 together just before our border stitches. So knit 2 together, and then knit our last 3 stitches normally. Now we're going to do our reverse row. So that's our knit 3, purl all the way to the last 3, and knit the last 3 stitches. What it looks like in a couple of rows, we have a little bit more of our corner happening. So here we have been knitting for a while past our corner, and you can see what's happening here. It does still purl a little bit in this corner, but that's okay. With some blocking, it won't really matter. So for now, we're down past our second blue section into the second white section here, and you guys go ahead. You can pause the video here, do your rows, come back and watch the rest of the video when we get to section 3 if you'd like. Go ahead and work this section, and I will be back to show you the next one. Thank you so much for pausing the video. We are jumping into section number 3 here, where we are going to talk about how to do the decreases for our campfire shawl. And so we have our lovely diagonal here. It is just so lovely. I'm so excited about all of the stripes. Now my shawl here is around, 70 inches or so. you know, basically the length of my shawl is going to be from across the bottom. It's going to be from our initial cast on row all the way to this section here. And now we're going to start decreasing up the side. To get started with section number 3, we are going to start by working our way along the front of our shawl. So we have our increase row here just inside of our garter section. And now we're going to start adding decreases in that section. Now, in a prior video, we talked about how to do decreases, talked about 3 different ones, our knit 2 together and our slip slip knit, and then a variation on the slip slip knit to give us a little bit more symmetrical version. That looks a little bit more like the knit 2 together. So we're going to use that slip slip purlwise and then knit 2 together for our decreases. And then we're still going to use our decreases on the other side the way that we did originally. Okay, so knit 2 together will be on the far end, but right now we're going to do our slip. So we slip the first one knitwise, slip the second purlwise, insert our knitting needle back in to the front, and then knit those 2 stitches together. Now we're going to continue working across our row, and we will knit 2 together on the other side, and then we will purl our way back across the row the way that we have done for every other row. We are not doing any decreases or anything on the opposite side. So we knit our first 3 stitches and then purl our way across and then knit our last 3 stitches. And then on our forward rows, so when we're looking at the right side of our work, we're going to continue with our slip, slip, purlwise, and then knit 2 together for each right side row until we are down to the same number of stitches we started with, which was 4 stitches. Alright, so here we are at the other end of the row, and I have 5 stitches left on my left needle, and now I'm going to knit 2 together and then finish by just straight knitting my last stitches in our garter section. Okay, so go ahead and work section number 3. If you need a refresher on that decrease that we did, you can rewind this video, or I will link that decrease video in the description box below, and you can check that out as well. It goes over nice and slow how to do the slip slip knit, which is the correct leaning decrease. You can definitely use that if you prefer, and I just like the little bit cleaner way the slip slip purl knit looks for when comparing it to the knit 2 together for the other side. So check out that video below if you want to learn how to do those decreases and why this one might look a little bit neater for your shawl. Okay, that is in the description box below. I will be back to show you our finished product once we get our decreases worked most of the way, once we're finished. If you made it this far in the video, please go ahead and hit that like button below. All right, I'll be back with the finished product here in a moment. Alright, so here we are at the end of our shawl. I've already casted everything off, and I just wanted to give a quick note letting you know that at the end I did a knit 2 together on the final row of my stockinette section, finished off with another row of garter stitch, one more knit 2 together in the middle, and then I cast it off. So that's how you're going to finish off the final couple of rows of your shawl. Alright, I hope you guys enjoy, and here's a collage of some fun ways to wear your shawl. Click this video on the screen here because it's one YouTube thinks you're going to want to watch next. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. We'll see you in the next one.